virtual world, welcome back. And for everybody that's here, thanks for taking the time to attend. I see some familiar faces in the crowd, so thanks for coming out and supporting. My name is Harrison Bagdan. I'm here from Hip Creative. Hopefully you guys have seen us before. I just want to give you guys a heads up. This training or this lecture is something that usually takes me about 60 minutes. I've got 20, so I'm going to do my best to deliver and hopefully give you guys some value to take home. The title of my presentation today is called How to Convert New Patient Opportunities in the 21st Century and Overcome Bad Leads. So for anybody here in the crowd physically, has anybody ever tried any kind of like digital marketing, like Facebook ads or Google or website? Anybody? Anybody? Cool. Has anybody ever said like, man, these Facebook leads are just bad leads compared to my other patients, or these people who schedule for my website are not as good patients as my other patients? Has anybody ever said that? Okay, cool. Well, hopefully I can deliver some value for you guys today and take some action steps to take home. So like I said, my name is Harrison Bagdan. I'm the Senior Practice Advisor at Hip Creative. I was born and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area. I've been living in Florida now for 5 years, and I've been on the team at Hip for about 3 years now. And what we've done is we've specialized in helping orthodontic practices grow a bit faster and a bit easier through digital marketing. So I don't know about you guys, but I love good books and I love good quotes. I like to nerd out on that kind of stuff. There's this awesome book called Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. I don't know if anybody's ever read of that or heard that. Awesome book if you haven't read it. But in this book, Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, he talks about the 10,000 hour rule of mastery, which says that once you've done a profession or once you've done a craft for 10,000 hours, that's when you've truly reached mastery level of that profession. So I would venture to guess that for all the doctors either watching or in the crowd today, you guys have all put in your 10,000 hours chairside practicing orthodontics, moving teeth, maybe most of you, maybe not the young guys just yet. But there's patterns to it if you've done it long enough. I would venture to guess if I came and sat in a treatment chair with anybody here, you guys took a look at my teeth, you could probably tell me that I had braces as a kid and that I haven't been wearing my retainer without even having to ask me, right? Because there's patterns to it. And it's the same thing with what we do here. So we've been in business now for 7 years. And we started working in orthodontics 6 years ago. We've spent tens of thousands of hours on the internet helping funnel new patients into your office. And so where it started for us 6 years ago, we met this guy named Dr. Ben Fishbein. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Fishbein Orthodontics, but he was actually the first orthodontist we ever started working with 6 years ago. When we started working with Dr. Fishbein, he was a single doctor, one provider, one main office, 2 tiny satellites, and they were doing under $2 million a year in production. If anybody knows anything about the Fishbein story, they're doing a bit more than that these days. They did over 25 million last year. So by no means is that Hip just waving a magic wand, pushing some magic buttons, but I do know if you were to talk to Dr. Ben or Amanda here, they'd say we've been a big part of that story. You fast forward to today, we've got about 120 practices that we work with across the country. All of them are orthodontists except like 5 or 6. Those other specialties are going to be like multi-specialty practices. We have a couple endodontists, a couple periodontists. But outside of that, everything that we do is niched down into orthodontics. And so while many of our partners were seeing tremendous success like Fishbein, we've had practices double their production in a year. We've had practices do even more than that. But the reality is that not every single practice and not every single doctor that we worked with was seeing this kind of success. And so over the last few years, it's really been an obsession for us to figure out why. Like, why could we plug our framework into one practice and they explode, plug in our framework to another practice, and it just didn't do so well? And so what happened, the pattern that we started to see is it got to a place a few years ago where, like clockwork, 10% of our partners were making 90% of the revenue being generated. And obviously that was a red flag for us. We wanted to figure out why that was. So what we started doing is we actually started doing a case study internally here at HIP. And throughout our case study, some things that we started hearing from the practices who weren't doing as well through our framework is we would hear things like, man, all these leads on Facebook are just bad leads. or everybody that comes into my practice from the internet, they all just no-show. Or the people who book appointments on my website, these are bad patients compared to my other patients. And my favorite one is, I know it works for everybody else, but digital marketing just doesn't work at my practice. But I think these are just symptoms, right? Much like a headache is just a symptom of dehydration, we wanted to figure out what was that root cause. So in our time doing this case study, we came across this study that was done by the Harvard Business Review. I'm sure you guys have heard of Harvard, relatively intellectual folks over there. And this study took a look at the science or the behavior patterns with digital opportunities. And so the graphic on the left, the one that says response time, what this took a batch of was 10,000 contacts, 10,000 leads generated in this study. And by the end of the study, what the study found is that if you don't follow up with a digital lead within 5 minutes, the difference between a 5-minute follow-up and a 10-minute follow-up, it decreases the odds of ever getting in contact with that person by 400%, which was drastic, right? Because the people on the internet, they're probably looking at a couple other practices as well. Maybe they're unfortunately looking at Smile Direct Club, but they want things quickly, right? So we have to get to our people in 5 minutes or less. But just as important as getting to people quickly is the idea of persistence, or I like to use the word nurture. You know, does anybody here willingly answer random phone numbers when they call your phone? You know, probably nobody, right? So they don't answer the phone. What's our process after that if they don't pick up or they don't text you back? Do we give up and say, oh, that's a bad lead, I'm not interested? Or do we continue to pursue that opportunity? If we don't follow up at least 6 times, we lose another 70% likelihood of ever getting that patient opportunity in. And so this was very eye-opening to us. And when we started looking at the patterns, the practices who were growing like this, what do you think they were doing? They treated every single new patient opportunity like the most important person in the world, no matter where they came from. The practices that were slowing down a little bit, they had a mindset that digital leads aren't as good, and then their systems kind of followed that. So what we started doing to really get a pulse on our practices and also for you guys is we started secret shopping all of our offices. We'd go to their website, we'd request an appointment, we'd go onto their Facebook ads, we'd request an appointment, and we start tracking how fast did we get a call, how many phone calls did we get, how many text messages did we get, emails, etc. And this really started to bring some transparency to what was going on in each office's new patient process. So this is a secret shop report card you guys can see here. I blurred out the office's name just for privacy's sake, but you can see that we requested the free exam at 12:45 in the afternoon, and this practice gave us a call back in 2 minutes to get us scheduled, and then they followed up again an hour later, and then they followed up again the next business day. Well, this is a practice that we started working with that went from like 200K to 2 mil in just over a year. Pretty incredible. Now we got another office here. Again, I blurred out their name. You can see when we requested the exam, they called us back in 2 minutes. They called us again 2 hours later. We didn't get a third call, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because when I ran this report, it was the same day. So we'll give them a benefit of the doubt there. But this is an office that doubled their production in 12 months. Now, on the other side of the coin, this office, you can see I requested the exam at 10:17 Central Time, right in the normal business hours, and it took 49 hours to get that first phone call to get me scheduled. I was never very good at math, but 49 hours, I think we're talking in terms of days here instead of minutes, and there's probably a chance that that person went and got scheduled somewhere else, and now they're a bad lead. Does that make sense? Cool. So, I think that getting to people quickly and getting to people persistently, all that is just great customer service, and that's just a mindset, right? Who can call somebody in under 5 minutes? Anybody can do that, right? We're not sending a man to the moon. Anybody can call somebody in 5 minutes. Who can follow up 6 times? Anybody can do that. But the really wise man, you guys may have heard of him, his name's Albert Einstein, he says that we cannot solve problems with the same level of thinking that we used when we created them. So if we've gone down this rabbit hole of Facebook not working and website not working, let's look at the mindset and the philosophy behind that before we write the tool off as something that doesn't work. So hopefully you guys can see that speed to lead, getting to our opportunities quickly is important, But we always want to innovate. We always want to make things better. So we started pulling back some layers of the onion, and we're like, well, what's the next step? What could be more important than calling somebody quickly? How quickly can we actually get that patient into the office? That's great that you called me in 5 minutes, but if your next available is 3 weeks out, probably going to go somewhere else, or at least call somewhere else and see if they can get me in sooner. And so at HIP, we call that the 72-hour rule. We live in a time where people want things instantly. Does anybody use Amazon, or do you guys still go to retail stores, right? What has Amazon been able to do? Instant gratification. Unfortunately, what is Smile Direct Club and the DIYers, what have they been able to do? Instant gratification. Well, we're not going to be able to change that. We've got to make sure we have processes in place to set ourselves up for success. So yes, people want things now. When somebody reaches out or opts in or requests an appointment, the best thing we can do to actually convert them into a start is make sure we can give them an appointment as soon as possible so they don't even have the chance or the thought to go look elsewhere. So I've got another case study here, kind of comparing and contrasting. This is an office out in Texas. This is a single provider, single doctor type of practice. They really bought into the mindset of speed to lead and the 72-hour rule. And you can see here that in 3 weeks of following the process, we started 9 new cases just from Facebook ads. This is before we took over their website, before we took over SEO. This was just from Facebook. You fast forward to 3 months, and after 3 months, we started 44 new cases just from the Facebook ads in a matter of 3 months. Not too bad, right? But it turns out, guys, if you don't follow the process, you can't always get the result. It turns out that if you don't wear your Invisalign, your teeth don't move, right? You gotta follow the process, and it's the same thing here. So to show you the other side of the coin, this is an office that was kind of booking people 3 weeks out. I think we even saw 6 weeks out in some of these cases. And after 1 month of implementing our framework, they had no new patient starts and only 2 scheduled exams in the pipeline. Fast forward to 3 months later, and they only had 4 new patient starts. We're running the same offer, the same strategy, the same campaign, the same framework. What's the X factor? It's the new patient process. What are we doing to get these people in and give them great service? So I think that when you boil it down, the root cause isn't Facebook, the root cause isn't the internet, the root cause isn't digital leads don't work. It just comes down to the new patient, the front end new patient process. Customer service. Why do people love Chick-fil-A and will wait in line around the block for Chick-fil-A? The service is amazing, right? The food's pretty good, but it's the service. And I think beyond anything else, that's just a mindset that we have to adopt. So what do we need to build a new patient, or I would say the key word here is a predictable new patient acquisition machine? First and foremost, we gotta have a blueprint. We gotta have a system. People don't duplicate, but systems do. So we've gotta have a blueprint. We've gotta have training to be able to plug the people into the blueprint on how to use the system properly. But most importantly, we gotta have something that's totally accountable, meaning we can hold your team's feet to the fire, but also something transparent where you can also hold our feet to the fire to make sure we're doing our part. That blueprint over here at HIP is what we call the patient acquisition and retention framework. Our framework is very holistic through the entire new patient journey. I think where most marketing companies focus all of their efforts is just on that first little dot that says attract, right? They say, here's your website. Let me know if you want to change something, and that's important, but obviously as we've seen, it's not the end-all be-all to get people in, right? We've got to figure out how to get them committed. We've got to figure out how to get them scheduled. Most importantly, we got to make sure they show up for their consult, and then somewhere along the way, we got to start treatment, and that's kind of the process that our system follows. So if you guys wanted anything to take home, this is kind of my simple system for nurture and follow-up. If you wanted to take a picture of this one, but I say you want to call people in under 5 minutes, obviously. But if they don't answer, I always follow up with a text message that says, hey there, first name. That was me who just tried giving you a call. This is Harrison from HIP Orthodontics. I see you requested an appointment. And then leave them a voicemail if their voicemail box is set up. Most people's aren't, right? And then we want to follow that process for the next 3 days. Now, I can kind of see some faces. They're like, how are we going to call people in 5 minutes, 3 days in a row, and send a voicemail, and send a text message? How the heck are we going to do that? Well, that's why we built our software, Practice Beacon, and what Practice Beacon is going to allow you to do is automate about 60 to 70% of that follow-up. It's also going to track all of our new patient opportunities, and most importantly for you as the business owner, you can see real-time ROI reports. What did I spend this week, this month, this year, this quarter, and what did HIP produce me? But the coolest part about Practice Beacon is a feature in there that we call our Call Connect. So imagine I click on your Facebook ad, I request an appointment, say I want to come in. What Practice Beacon will do is it'll actually push a phone call to your office line. They would answer as normal. Hello, HIP Orthodontics, how can I help you? And on the other line of the phone, it says, hey, this is Practice Beacon. Harrison just requested the free exam. Press 1 to call him now. Boop, and it'll push a phone call out to that new patient opportunity. So it kind of prompts your team to take that next step. So this is kind of what our framework looks like holistically. Marketing is just a part of it. The software is what's going to bring all the opportunities in there and house all the opportunities so we can see what's working, what's not working. And then the third part of our framework is the training, so we can make adjustments as the process goes, whether that's on the phone calls, whether that's in the consult room, whether that's mindset. But that's really the glue that holds it all together. So we've actually built a training course with 96 modules in there at this point on everything from front desk, treatment coordinator, operations, into mindset. And then we've also written a couple books. So to kind of wrap up, I guess my question to you is what do you really think is the number one factor in determining your success with cold traffic or digital leads? Is it really possible that all internet leads are bad leads? Is it really possible? I don't think so, because most of the doctors that sign up with HIP, guess how they find us? On a Facebook ad, right? So I would say, and remind you that those people on Facebook, those people on Instagram that are bad leads, guys, these are the same people that are getting coffee with you in the morning or eating lunch next to you. The difference is their behavior pattern. That's it. I hate to break it, but there is no magical land of bad leads that live on Facebook. We just have to adopt our processes to fit that. So I would just say, like, is it possible if you're struggling on Facebook or struggling with your website leads, is it possible that there might be some antiquated systems in place? I don't know. So I would say that the answer always comes down to the sales process. What's your follow-up like? What's the customer service like? If you can wow people with the experience and wow people with speed, they're probably not going to go elsewhere. So we've written a couple books. If you guys want to come see us, we're at booth 2828. We have a copy of our new book here called Front Desk Secrets of the Nation's Fastest Growing Orthodontic Practices. We're launching another book in a few months and a few more over the course of this year. So if you guys want to stop by, get a copy of the book. We could even run a secret shop report for your practice if you guys want to see what your front desk is doing or not doing. We'd be happy to do that for you. And that's everything that I got for you guys today. So I appreciate you spending some time with us and looking forward to meeting you all soon. Thank you.